in December of 1975. But the sting in the tail was that was when the British government announced that anyone who was going to be arrested after the 1st of March 1976, instead of being treated as a political prisoner and sent to the cages in Lancash, where you had maybe 50 or 100 Republicans living in cages together, organising their own education, organising their own food, parcels sent in from the outside, doing their own sports, doing their own language. Instead of that, being treated as political prisoners or prisoners of war, the British government of the 1970s suddenly announced an arbitrary date of the 1st of March 1976. And that was it. Anyone charged with offence before the 1st of March would automatically get political status. Any of the rest of us who were going to be arrested after the 1st of March were going to be treated as criminals, asked to wear a prison uniform and do prison work. I can remember sitting in a house in the Clarendon area of West Belfast as an 18-year-old on the 1st of March, and the people in the room saying to me, the older people saying, well lad, that's it, if we get caught now, it's the blocks for us, it's not going to be the cages. As an 18-year-old, you didn't really have much of an idea of what they were talking about at that stage, but these were old hands that had been there, seen it and done it. Within 4 weeks of those people talking to me in that room, we already lost 6 of them who were captured and were known as the ABC squad, and they were later sentenced. Keir Nugent became the first person, a full throat man, to run up against this new strategy of the British government of trying to criminalise the Republican people. And he was the first one to go before the courts, and then after he was sentenced, he was brought up to the H-blocks. And it wasn't a really big issue. It wasn't really a massive thought-out political strategy with debates and discussions. Keir Nugent simply said, if you want me to wear this prison uniform, you're going to have to nail it to my back. That was it. Pretty straight, pretty forward. No nonsense about it. So they stripped Keir naked and they put him into a cell on his own. And that was it. All he had to do was to take a blanket off the bed, and that was it. That was the start of a blanket protest that began in September of 1976. I was arrested then in November of 1976 as an 18-year-old. And to be honest, you didn't really have much of a clue what to expect. But that experience and living through those days has changed me completely. And I am the person I am today that's able to dress shoes and have the confidence to do that because of my experiences within the H-blocks. Because by the time I got sentenced, I was on remand until January 1978. And by the time I went by the time I was sentenced and went to the jail, there was almost 500. By that stage, almost 500 political prisoners had joined Keir Nugent in that blanket protest. And it wasn't long, because of the beatings and the brutality that we were receiving daily from the screws. You have to understand the mentality of these people who were our enemies within the jail. The screws were a body of people. Many of them were ex-British Army. Many of them had come from here in Scotland and went over to serve in Ireland as a British soldier, and then thought it was a handy touch to become a prison warder. Some of them were ex-RUC. The biggest bulk of them, I would say, would have been members of the Orange Order or the Royal Black Preceptory. So for them, this must have been a godsend. To get to torture IRA prisoners day and daily and to be paid for it what was the thought of what they were doing? But that was the conditions that we had to ensure. So from March 1978, we just stopped. We were doing a no-wise protest, a protest against the conditions and against the brutality. And that protest lasted from March 1978 until the hunger strike began in 1981. So it wasn't just a rush job or something that was thought out. It took years of planning and years of building up, that we tried every other avenue to bring about a successful resolution of the jail protest, until we got to the stage in October of 1980, when as a last resort, Brian Hughes, 6 other male comrades, joined by 3 female comrades from our jail, went on hunger strike from October 1980 until December 1980. And at that stage, one of the hunger strikers, Sean McKenna, who since died, was on the verge of death. And Brian Hughes took a decision, believing that there was a compromise there to end the hunger strike. The next day, the likes of my sister, the likes of my father, went up to the jail along with hundreds of other families and tried to hand in my clothes, my ordinary civilian clothes that I would have worn on the outside, and those were refused. The prison administration says now, what we're going to do is to give them a new style of prison uniform to replace the old style. But had they allowed those clothes then, in December of 1980, there probably would not have been a hunger strike. But it was the reneging by the prison administration. Once they got the hunger strike over in 1980, all they wanted to do was to rub our noses in it, to try to make us crawl, and to try us to get a new form of prison uniform. And that's what Bobby, who had taken over command in the jail from Brian Hughes. Bobby Sands had said, that's it, we have to go on a second hunger strike, and he was going to lead it, and that's what he did on the 1st of March 1981. From the 1st of March until the 3rd of October, when the hunger strike was eventually called off, we lost 10 comrades within the jail, and almost 64 people lost their lives on the outside, including many women and children who were brutally murdered by plastic bullets fired by the British Army and the RUC, as they tried to terrorise the thousands of people who were coming onto the streets to support the prisoners, to support the hunger strikers. They paid a price on the outside the same way as we lost all these comrades that you can see in front of me inside the jail. The hunger strike was eventually called off after 217 days. That left us still in the jail. It left us, having lost 10 comrades, having to make hard decisions, hard political decisions about what we were to do next. How did we follow on the protest? What form would the protest take? Those discussions went on, and it was decided at that stage that the next move for us collectively, the 500 Republican prisoners, was to go into the system, to take it over, to smash it from within, and destroy it from within. And that's exactly what happened. And in 1983, the September 1983 escape from 38 IRA prisoners escaped from the H-blocks of Long Cache was testimony to what had happened within the prisons, and that the prisoners were not broken, the prisoners were not beaten, had reorganized and had rejuvenated themselves and moved forward to take control of the jail, to take control of their lives and what was happening from